In today's video, we are going to see the Sheets workspace, what it includes, and some other tricks with the notations or the cell references. We will see how to master them in a moment. Let me go directly to our Sheets. In our Sheets, that's our working space. It's defined by columns. So these are columns A, B, C, D up to Z, and you can extend them up to 256 columns. And these are rows. By default, they are up to 999, and you can extend them up to 18,000. And the columns by default are up to Z, from A to Z, and you can extend them at the very end. You can find Z. If you can extend this workspace if you just insert one right to the right. So it's A, and then it starts AP, AC, and so on. So that's your workspace where you are going to work. So what is inside the workspace of the Sheets? Inside the workspace of the Sheets, you will find cells. In these cells, you put data. You put data either to store them, to arrange them, to make further functions on them, which are going to see in our videos. So simply you put here some data. So for example, if you need to put some expenses, so you put some title, you put some expenses here and here. So you have some data like this, and you can save your file. So yeah, these data are saved by default. Google Sheets is saved to your drive automatically, so you don't need to do anything in it. Okay, what else is in our workspace? You can find here do, redo, undo, print, format painter. We will see it in a moment. Format painter, the zooming, and the dollar sign. You can put some dollar sign to our values, percentage to make it a percentage, to change the dots, and so on. So let me see one by one. For example, if this one, if I added the dollar sign, you can add the dollar sign, and you can add any other signs for currencies and so on. So like this, you decrease the number of the years, and you can increase the number of the years after the decimal point. And here you can change different number formats. We will have separate talk for the number formats. That's the normal font, as like an editing sizing is 10. Then you can make it bold, italics, strike through, underline. You can change the background color. You can give it a yellow color, for example. You can put some borders around the cells, because these borders are only for you to view, not for actual borders. That's to merge cells. We are going to see it further. And alignment, right, left, and center, and alignment top, bottom, and center also. And wrapping, we'll have a session on wrapping and the direction of writing, and many other features. Okay, what else we can see here? We can see here that we are working on one sheet. So the spreadsheet can include many sheets. So we have one sheet, sheet 1. If we say plus, we have another sheet, sheet 3, because I made sheet 2 before and deleted, so maybe he thought that I don't like sheet 2. If you can change the name just by clicking here, so just I will turn its name back to sheet 2. Here the name is untitled. You can just click here. You don't find save as in the file menu, and if you go to the file menu, you can find rename to rename it, but simply you can come here and you change the name directly from here. Okay, so that's we come back to sheet 1. So we have this value. So what else we can do in this one? So why we put data? Either we put data to store them, or we put data to work on them. Okay, we will see many ways to work on data, but to work on data, first I need to address the cell which is having the data. So I stored this number in this cell. We said here that this one can format, paint formatter. So it takes the format from this cell. I like this one. So this one is copied to the paint formatter. If I click on any other cell, it will copy the same format to this cell. So if I click here, so you can see that it's typically the same format with the background, the italics, the bold, and the dollar sign. Everything in the styling is copied to this cell. So that's one of the beauties. So of course you can make this on many sheets. As I say, usually you are working with data, so it's not 2 or 3 numbers. 2 or 3 numbers, you can put them on scrap paper and you can work with them as you like. But we are speaking of working with hundreds or thousands of cells. You can go down to 18,000 row and 256 columns. So that's a huge, about 400,000 cells, up to 400,000 cells. That's the capacity of one sheet in Google. In Google Sheets. Okay, so how to access this data to work on them? For example, we will see today how to reference a cell in Google Sheets. That's one of the vital tools that we need. So here, for example, I will say equal you can simply click on this cell. So he puts the notation, the A1 notation of the cell. So when he puts the letter and the number, that's called the A1 notation of the cell. So that's B2, it's P, and row 2, that's the A1 notation of this cell. Enter. So simply he copied the cell, the value in the cell with the decimal points and the dollar signs and so on, but it didn't copy the styling. The copying the styling is another story. So if you like to extend, you can drag, you see this small square here, you can drag this cell and drag it down here. So you can see it copied not the same cell, it copied the cell below. Why? Because dragging changes automatically the addressing or the reference here when it is dragged, but on one condition, that it is a relative referencing. What do I mean by relative referencing? I will show you. If I put here equal and I put dollar sign A and dollar sign, so it's B, so it's dollar sign B and dollar sign 2, enter. So it is typically the same. It put also 111. So what is the difference? If you drag it this time, because this one is absolute addressing or fixed addressing with the dollar sign. So if I dragged it down, you will find that it's copied. It didn't change automatically the addressing, because when I put the dollar sign, it understands that I need only this dollar sign. There's another nice way to reference a cell. So it's called R1C1 notation. We will use it inside the functions of the when we start using the functions, but just for now to understand it, you can simply use a function here. I can say function called indirect for now. Okay, we will explain functions after that, but just and it takes this one takes as text as a notation. So I will put here, for example, that's row 2. So it starts with row 2 and column. This is the second column, so it uses column 2 also. And this one is RC notation, so it needs a false here to know that it is R1 C1 notation. Otherwise, if it is the A1 notation, it will use true. Enter. So it copied already the cell here, and if you dragged it, if we drag it from the small square, you can find that because it is a function, it didn't, and it's having this one as a string. So when you have these quotations, it's using it as a string, so it didn't copy it back. But if I come here, and so row, I need now row 3, column 2. Yeah, you can see here that it changed the value, it brought me the value. So now we learned 3 ways, which is the A1 notation, simply the P2, and the dollar sign P, dollar sign 2, and we had learned also the R1C1 notation. Remaining one type of notation, I can come to this cell, right click it, and I will give it here, define a named range. I will add a range, that's my named range number 1, for example. That's done. If I come here and say equal named range 1, it gives me recommendations automatic. Enter. Okay, and okay, so that's the fourth type. So this type is I used it to reference a cell using a named range, reference a cell using the RC notation, reference a cell using the dollar sign or the absolute addressing, and referencing a cell using the A1 notation, which is a relative addressing. That's enough for this video. See you in the coming videos with more tricks from Google Sheets.